She told me that they had run several tests that were designed to catch pathological lying, narcissism, personality disorders, etc. She said that my results showed that I was entirely truthful and that I had no personality disorders. There was a diagnosis of general anxiety and depression, but she believed that it was due to the stress that I was being put under by Baumbaugh. Baumbaugh had also submitted all the paperwork she had written about me, as well as supposedly other letters that other people had written about me, to the mental health facility before I went to get tested. The doctor said none of this made sense to her, stating that nothing in that stack of papers seemed legitimate or even fully coherent. She stated that I was a high-achieving Air Force Academy graduate with a previously high reputation. It was evident to her that any issues I was currently having was not of my doing. The doctor also stated that it was not my mental state she was worried about, it was Baumbaugh's. She told me that the whole day I had been there, being psychologically evaluated on commander's orders, she had called the mental health clinic. Baumbaugh had called the mental health clinic about 5 to 6 times, asking, "Where is she? When is she coming back? Why is this taking so long?" The psychologist stated that she noted some disturbing, obsessive behavior from her, and that for some reason she was fixated on me. She did not know why, but it was concerning. I remember crying, telling her that I wanted so bad to find out what was wrong with me, that I should be happy to know that I'm not defective, as Baumbaugh had suggested, but now I was terrified. The doctor asked me what she could do to help. I told her that I needed to be out of that office and away from her. She said that she would see what she could do. She sent the diagnoses and recommendations to Baumbaugh, recommendations that I be moved out of the office for my health, which is probably not the recommendations that Baumbaugh was hoping to get. Baumbaugh vehemently refused. My therapist informed me of this at one of our next sessions. The obsessive behavior continued. Baumbaugh would call my therapist and ask for details about my care and what was said in our sessions. Of course, my therapist would tell her that she would not divulge that information. Based on Baumbaugh's behavior and my mentioning that she had pressed me initially for those coffee dates in the beginning of the year, my therapist shared her view that the fixation might even be sexual in nature, even stating to me once that this could possibly be considered sexual harassment. I pushed that idea out of my mind because I still did not think, even after all of this, that I even had the right to call this sexual harassment. But that thought has continued to stick with me to this day. Baumbaugh would print out Facebook posts of mine and blog posts that I had started writing about mental health and sent them to my therapist. They were innocuous, innocent posts, so my therapist was confused and equally disturbed as to why she was sending these. When this started occurring, my therapist started to get even more serious with me regarding an escape plan. She told me to make my social media completely private and to not post at all. She told me to become a ghost on social media. She then told me that Baumbaugh's behavior was becoming so obtrusive and threatening that I needed an escape plan. She instructed me to pack a go bag, a bag with extra clothes and essentials in case Baumbaugh came to my house to do something to me, whatever that may have meant. And in case I needed to make a quick escape. She instructed me to pack She instructed me to check under my car for bombs and explosives every time I got in the car to drive. She helped me write out an escape plan and identify the people to which I could go if I needed a place to hide. As always, she asked if I was suicidal. As usually, truthfully, I replied no. Even though I continued waking up every day screaming, terrified that I had survived the night, hoping to pass in my sleep, I had never had any thoughts of killing myself. I went home and told all this to my husband. I have just recently, in the last few weeks, right now, in present day, that my husband, upon hearing this, had also made an escape plan for us. He told his boss and co-workers that the day might come that he and his wife might have to skip town because I was being harassed. Apparently, they were all understanding and in on the plan. He kept extra clothes in the car. I always remembered that he would be frustrated with me when I would forget to fill up the tank. He told me recently that this was not only because, you should fill up your tank, because an adult should fill your gas tank, But he was concerned that if we ever needed to make this quick getaway, that we wouldn't be able to for lack of gas. For 4 years, I never knew he had this planned out. Things were getting scary. The Inspector General case was taking too long. On average, those take 6 months. In the meantime, she was free to destroy my life and reputation even more. I decided to go straight to the top because I had nothing left to lose. I scheduled a meeting with the base commander of Grand Forks Air Force Base. He and the vice commander were welcoming and kind. We sat down together and I told them what was going on. I cried hard. They consoled me. They were very nice. I told them how afraid I was. I told them that I knew that I was being watched and she had definitely had me follow to this meeting. She knew where I was and who I was talking to at that moment. But I had nothing left to lose. No reputation, no career, no respect, and no honor. They seemed to believe me and told me to keep documenting and they would see what they could do. And of course, after I got back from that meeting, Baumbaugh called me in and told me that she knew where I'd been. The next incident I'm about to describe is the worst day of my life. April 6th, 2017. I was crying in the bathroom stall at work. I had done this every day for months. I was sitting on the toilet, pants down, doing my business, but sobbing all the while. Baumbaugh came into the bathroom and heard me crying. She told me to come out. I said, no, please, begging to just be allowed to cry. This literally happened to me every day. Baumbaugh told me to come out again, and I could not even get words out. I just sobbed. She left the bathroom. About 5 minutes later, military police, firemen, and the chaplain came into the women's bathroom. She had called 911, or whomever, and said that I was suicidal. She said that I had locked myself in the bathroom to harm myself. This was not true. I was in a bolted stall for the purpose of taking a shit like a normal person in a normal bathroom. I stated that I was just using the bathroom and crying. Regardless, they said I had to come with them. I was allowed to wipe myself, wash my hands, and then they led me out of the building. I remember clear as day. The entire building was evacuated. The fire department was there, along with several police cars. I was escorted into the ambulance, joined by the chaplain and military police. I looked out the window, and I caught a glimpse of Baumbaugh laughing and dabbing another member of the unit, as if this was all a cruel prank. The ambulance took me to mental health. My therapist met me immediately and embraced me, asking, "You're not suicidal, are you?" I said, "No, I'm not." She told everyone that she had it from here, and she took me back to her office. I was very lucky to have this therapist who was very supportive and believed me. I explained everything that had happened. She was horrified, and I remember her being distraught and apologizing over and over that she couldn't do more, racking her brain of what more she could do. She said that this incident would lead to PTSD for me. I was hyperventilating, sobbing, and my chest hurt. I felt like the wind was knocked out of me. I felt like I was going to die. My therapist escorted me to another part of the medical facility. The doctor gave me an EKG because I thought I might be having a heart attack. The results of the EKG showed that my heart was actually extremely healthy and that I had just suffered a severe panic attack. They prescribed me antidepressants, and I went back to sit with my therapist. For as concerned as Baumbaugh was about my mental state, no one had come back to pick me up. It was a small base, and so I said that I could walk back to work. But on the way, I knocked on the door of every person I could think of that could get me out of the military immediately. I could not do this anymore. I asked the chaplain. He said he could do nothing. I walked to the office of the Vice Mission Support Group Commander with my little paper bag in hand with antidepressants, asking, "Please get me out of the Air Force now. I can't do this. I did not have the mental fortitude, not anymore." I could not. He said he could do nothing. I began to walk back to work, calling my husband to tell him what had happened. A member of my unit happened to be driving by and saw me on the side of the road, and then he gave me a lift back to the unit. When I got there, the few friends and mentors I had, the ones that were forbidden to talk to me or help me, particularly all these women of color, basically, they rushed to embrace me and held me tight. Some of them were crying, because Baumbaugh had led them to believe that I had actually made an attempt on my life. Someone even said that they saw blood in the bathroom, and I showed them parts of my body to assure them that I did not hurt myself. My husband showed up shortly afterwards to check on me and then escort me home. A few days later, Baumbaugh called me into her office and said that I would be moving out of the office and that I had until the next morning to move my things. She did not seem happy about it. When I saw my therapist later, she suggested to me that the base commander had forced her to move me away from her. Mental health had also given the statement that if I were not moved away from her, the stress would literally kill me. Not in a figurative sense, no. That the stress that I was under, what it would do to me and to my heart, could end my life. The next morning, I packed the last of my things to move to another unit where I would just sit behind a desk for the remaining months until Baumbaugh left for her next assignment as a commander at Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri, I think. As I packed my things, I noticed that a coin in my coin rack had been stolen. My Thompson blue coin, reminiscent of the program I was a part of that she hated. To this day, I'm not 100% sure who stole it, but it was the least of my worries at the moment. It was just one more thing, though. I swept all my coins into a box, all the coins I had earned over my time at USAFA and on tour with Air Force Entertainment. I do not believe I ever displayed my coin rack ever again during my active duty time. I was kind of scared to show off any of my accomplishments for fear of being a threat. When I left, she wiped all my training records clean, effectively requiring that I do it all over again. I had to report to her or one of her friends by email whenever I left the new building in which I was now housed. I only had to return to the squadron for mandatory unit-wide meetings. One meeting I attended to receive an award for my physical fitness test. I had scored something like a 98%, all the while having a panic attack, as had become common for me. It is incredibly hard, by the way, to run 1.5 miles as fast as you can while having a panic attack. I threw up for a long time after that test. She presented the other awardees with their certificates, only to tell me to just grab mine off the printer. Regardless, at least I was still away from her now. But upon getting to this point, I had lost my dignity, my reputation, my status as a commissioned officer. I was treated worse than a dog for all of those months. For most of 2016 and some of 2017, I started driving out to a secluded location on base for lunch. That way I could see if anyone were following me. I would drive there to eat and cry and make private phone calls that I could not do otherwise. However, one of my friends did find me in that field one day. He called several of my other friends over, and they all congregated there with me. And my friend asked if I had been eating lunch by myself out here all this time, and I said yes. And I told them that I was afraid to be seen with my other officer friends, because I was afraid that if anyone were to see me hanging out with them, that their reputations would be ruined too. And my friends said, fuck that, and insisted that I would never eat lunch by myself again. My friends took turns going to lunch with me, looking out for me, also monitoring my mood and any signs of suicide or self-harm. I would later find out that they were watching for that for me. Baumbaugh moved to Whiteman Air Force Base in June 2017. In July 2017, I was diagnosed with severe PTSD as well as generalized anxiety disorder, major depressive disorder, and panic disorder. Though she was gone, she never seemed to quite be gone. I recall going grocery shopping and glancing up to see someone with a similar build and haircut as her. I remember sprinting with my shopping cart into the frozen foods aisle to hide, as I was unable to move for about 15 minutes. I thought it was her. I checked out my items quickly and I ran to the car to cry, even though I knew she was physically not there anymore. I knew she was physically not there in the state anymore. For months, and sometimes still now, whenever I saw the make and model of her car, a 2016 Honda Pilot, navy blue, I would have a panic attack, no matter where I was, even if I was in a different state. I had constant panic attacks that sent me to the ER several times, one for incredibly painful muscle spasms from anxiety that I still suffer from, that required steroid shots. Another trip was made when I fainted at the wheel of my car and ran into a field, narrowly missing a cell tower. I suffered from awfully long, very dark, depressive episodes, feeling the urge of self-harm for the first time. If my husband and my friends from base and in town weren't looking out for me, if they didn't show up to my apartment unannounced just because they had a feeling, if my best friend didn't book an expensive ticket on a whim just to see me for a weekend, feeling concerned because she had never heard me sound suppressed, I really don't know if I would be alive right now. The commander that came after Baumbaugh was wonderful. He heard about what happened to me. She'd even tried to issue me paperwork on the way out the door as she was leaving Grand Forks Air Force Base. My new commander showed it to me and tore it up, refusing to issue it. I wanted to get back to normal. I wanted so badly to be a true officer again, to help him run the unit, but nothing was the same. I have never been the same since then. Thankfully, he was understanding, and he gave me the space I needed. I went to intensive therapy 2 times a week, and could go to physical therapy for my back again without fear of being followed or punished. My promotion to captain had been delayed because of the subpar performance report she had given me when she left. In all honesty, ironically, I felt that it was true I did not deserve my promotion to captain. I'd been in survival mode for a year and a half. I was stripped of my duties and I did everything I could to be invisible. I was never allowed the chance to earn the rank of captain. But my new commander fought for me, and I was surprised one day in the last few months of my Air Force commitment when his boss, the new mission support commander, presented me with my selection letter for the rank of captain in front of the entire unit. I broke down sobbing because I had fully expected to leave the Air Force never getting to be called Captain Robinson. At least I could be Captain Select Robinson. I hugged her and I ran across the room to hug my commander. He had faith in me, when I still saw myself as useless and defective. On my last day in the Air Force, I thanked my new commander for giving me space to try and heal. And I also told him that I was so sorry that I couldn't be the captain he needed and deserved. But that maybe one day, because he allowed me that space and peace, perhaps I could be that to somebody else. What I wish I could have been for him. I still suffer from PTSD and I fight the effects of that year and a half every single day of my life. When the Central Park Amy Cooper case came out, I started waking up in panic attacks because it reminded me of when she threatened to send me to jail. Just because she could. When George Floyd died and I watched those monsters murder him, the look in their eyes was the same as Baumbaugh's as she watched me crumble to the floor many times in her office, knowing that she was trying to push me to suicide. When I wrote my Black Lives Matter article and was subsequently connected with more victims of hers, the total list is something like 20 people. I was enraged when we discovered that she did the same atrocities to all of us, particularly high-achieving airmen of color. When Vanessa Guillen's body was found and her story told, I remembered my therapist telling me to plan to escape should Baumbaugh come to my house to possibly attack me. The Air Force and military in general has showed time and again that it will not hold dangerous and toxic leaders accountable and that it does not care about its members of color. After I begged for a year to be released from the Air Force because I was no longer mentally fit to serve in any capacity, I watched a white female peer be released from duty within months of her arriving to the station, being medically separated for mental health issues, which means that she currently collects a check comparable to a retirement check. Meanwhile, I had to fight through the VA system to get my 80% disability rating and collect a somewhat decent monthly check. Like many service members, like Vanessa, I knocked on every door of every agency that we are told to contact should we believe we are mistreated. They failed us, especially Vanessa and anyone like her. When I put on the uniform, when I received my commission as an officer in the Air Force, I made an oath to give my life for my country. We all did. Whether or not I still believe in what the United States military stands for is a whole other conversation altogether. But if we were sent to fight, we were prepared to die. I was prepared to die. It comes with the job and they train us for it. But they do not train you for when the biggest threat to your life and health is down the hall in the commander's office, or just in your office in general. I never got to serve at my full capacity as a leader because she took that away from me. She took my health from me. She took years of my life from me. For Vanessa, her abuser took absolutely everything from her. The purpose of my testimony and those of others is simple. I'm calling for Leigh Baumbaugh's removal from the Air Force. Not a reassignment, but a forced separation. Like many abusive leaders, she has left a trail of broken bodies and careers wherever she goes. And her next assignment is to work in the University of North Dakota ROTC detachment. If and when she chooses her next target, that cadet will not be under the UCMJ, and thus will not be able to appeal to the VA in order to collect a check for almost $2,000 like I and many of her other victims do. She cannot be allowed to oversee or be in proximity to airmen or future airmen in any capacity. I contacted her chain of command, all the way up to the Secretary of the Air Force, to discuss this, but I never received a response from any of them. I let them know that I knew that the only thing that moves the Air Force or any government agency to action in these situations is mass media embarrassment. I let them know that if they did not move fast enough, I would swiftly provide that embarrassment because no one moved quickly enough to save me. No one moved quickly enough to save her other victims, and absolutely no one moved to save Vanessa. I have friends still in the Air Force who have suffered racism, rape, abuse, and subsequently suffer from mental health issues. The number of times I have had to talk friends out of suicide is astronomical. They can't speak for themselves, but I can because I am no longer under the control of the Air Force or Baumbaugh. She cannot touch me anymore. After this testimony, I will not pursue this anymore. This is not a revenge mission. This is about accountability. Perhaps the Air Force will move on our demands and remove this woman from their ranks. Perhaps they will not. Either way, now the world knows who she is and what she did to me and to us. She took so much from me, and I will never be the same again. However, I am determined to keep moving forward. I turned off my joy, my personality, my vitality, my smile, just for the chance to be less seen by her. To this day, I have difficulty feeling genuine joy. I still have many years of therapy and medication ahead of me. But what I find fucking hilarious is that the energetic person is that the energetic personality that she forced me to hide away, that she found repulsive and she used to villainize me and to write me paperwork, I am now well known for. With a platform of an audience of over 400,000 people all over the world, I'm able to create content to make people laugh, even if I can just bring that spark back a little bit at a time, just long enough to record a skit. I'm finding that personality again, the one I hid away for so long. I'm able to be open about my disability and to help others feel less alone, like I have. I was a host at Anime Expo Light this year, something I never dreamed I would get to do. I'm a signed recording artist with a fantastic producer that I trust and I love. I have a fantastic job now where I feel valued and protected. And I have a pretty nice fucking apartment in the New York City area where I moved to pursue acting. She wanted me destroyed. She wanted to push me to pull the trigger on myself. But I'm still here. I'm still alive. And despite still being so very, very broken, I am on my way. And just like the world now knows my name, they will know hers. She is more than welcome to deny my story, come for me, in any way, shape, or form. But then she'll have to deny the stories of all the other victims that have come forward to share their accounts. I would imagine that would be a lofty ambition for you, Leigh. And now I want to use my platform to call attention not only to Baumbaugh and my story, but to all the abusive, harassing, assaulting members that the Department of Defense continuously fails to remove, and to all the ruined careers, suicides, and almost suicides of airmen, particularly airmen of color, that they are completely willing to accept just to save a few bucks and not have to replace these dangerous people. We are so very disposable. Our lives do not matter. Air Force, you always told us people first, mission second. I call bullshit. Your white leaders shy away from talking about race, resorting to the same old, we wear the same uniform, we don't see color. Continuously invalidating the pain and mistreatment of people like me and similar victims. You have shown us time and again that we do not matter. Well, all lives cannot matter until you prove that non-white lives matter. Black lives matter. Or even that your airmen's lives matter. Just in general. So now you get to prove it. Here is your chance. I promised to embarrass the Air Force, and I am making good on my promise. Even though I have struggled through perhaps the most debilitating panic attack of my life to finish writing this manifesto. Her name is Leigh Baumbaugh. Start with her. Remove her from the Air Force. And then get the hell to work finding and eliminating all the other cancerous leaders you have allowed to fester in this greatest Air Force in the world. Get to work. Because stories like mine, the other victims of Baumbaugh, and especially of service members like Vanessa Guillen, are unacceptable. Well, we're waiting. If you need me, you can always reach out to my fan mail account, fanmail.nicquemarina@gmail.com. I will probably be busy tending to my fans, but if you really want to talk, I suppose I could make time for you. Bye.